Here, as we alerted you at the top of the hour, we just got word that the jury gave the judge a note in the courtroom there on the Paul Manafort trial, and we are now finding out what that note said. And it said, if we can't come to consensus, what does that mean for the final verdict? And the judge said, this is not out of the ordinary for a jury trial. Peter Ducey is following all this and giving us these news updates from outside the courtroom. Peter, what is happening?
Sandra, the jury is deliberating on 18 counts, and their question, at least the way that they framed it, pertains to one of the counts. This is something that the defense team, sources close to the defense team, have been telling us they thought that they might be hearing today. Sources close to the Manafort side say they walked in this morning, they saw what they believe to be a serious-looking jury, which they believe indicated that there might be some problems behind the scenes, and that if there was a problem, then at some point on the fourth day of deliberations, it would come out. And that's what we just got. So they are apparently stuck on one of the counts, and the judge told them that it's not exceptional and sent them back in to keep deliberating. So this is the first word that we've heard from the jury in the last 2 days. They haven't had a lot of questions since the first day of deliberations, which was last Thursday, and now it sounds like they are stuck on at least one of the counts. So it's unclear when the next time that we'll hear from the jury is, but that's what's going on upstairs on the 9th floor right now. Sandra?
For day 4 of deliberations here, Peter, and we've been working under the premise, we've been on standby that a verdict could come down at any moment, but the defense has given indication that they see the timeline here as a positive for their team, for Paul Manafort.
And that's obviously something, a belief that Paul Manafort himself shares, because he was in very good spirits this morning in court. He came in, he had a big smile, he was laughing with his defense attorneys, they were patting each other on the backs. They believe that if, essentially the word that we're getting from the Manafort side was that they thought that this thing was going to be wrapped up after about 2 days, and that the end of business on Friday last week would have been a really big motivator for the jury just to wrap things up so they could go home and they didn't have to come back. Once that happened, the Manafort team's perspective on the case changed. Yesterday they were describing it to me as though it was similar to the run-up to the 2016 election, where they feel like the jury is on the verge of delivering a big surprise, but we don't have any indication of that right now. The only indication that we have is that the jury is stuck on at least one of these counts, and it sounds like something else that I've just had handed to me. Something else that the judge said is the jury can reach a partial verdict, and he cited the U.S. versus Taylor as an example. So that's new. 18 counts, they're stuck on at least one, and the judge says that they can reach a partial verdict. So we don't know if that's something that they're close to. We don't know how many jurors are possibly holding out, and we might not for a couple more hours or a couple more days, Sandra.
Interesting. And Peter, you're giving some color there on Paul Manafort and his presence in the courtroom this morning, appearing upbeat, handshakes, patting each other on the back. The jury, as far as it's been described by Catherine Herridge, remains very serious in their demeanor. End of the day yesterday, they were very flat. She said appeared spent, some red-faced, not clear whether a result of their deliberations or not. But this is a long haul.
It is a long haul, and remember, as far as we know, it's entirely possible that none of these jurors are experts on forensic accounting or on tax and bank records, and that's what they're sitting in a room surrounded by, just hundreds of exhibits, thousands of pieces of paper that are not numbered sequentially. And so the Manafort, or rather the Mueller team in this case, is accusing Paul Manafort of violating 18 different charges. But when they made this 2.5-week-long argument, they were not specific with, you know, you take this piece of paper, this is for count 1, you take this piece of paper, it's for count 2. And so part of the reason that it could be taking so long is just they got a lot of dots that they need to connect as they deliberate.
So to
Sandra.
recap, the jury, if we cannot come to consensus on a single count, what does that mean for the final verdict? The jury asked the judge. The judge says that this is not exceptional to a jury trial and said the jury can reach a partial verdict. And we're being told now that they are in recess, a 5-minute recess. Again, working under the premise that a verdict could come in at any moment. Peter Ducey, you are there, and I'm sure you will bring us the news when it comes in. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll be on standby for that. And if there is a hung jury on one count, the federal government can always retry Mr. Manafort.
Just real quickly here, Judge Ellis from our team inside says, quote, at the moment, I don't plan to ask the jury to make a unanimous conclusion, and, quote, this has happened before regarding a partial ruling from a jury.
They could come in with a partial